Welcome everyone to episode 65 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed El Houli, and we are back with another cracking episode and a very special guest. In our presence today is Mr. Jude Grant. Jude, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me, Ahmed.
My absolute pleasure, mate. Jude, who is Jude Grant? Where did this journey start?
It started when I was about 17. I'd always played sports growing up, whether it was basketball, footy, cricket. I've always loved competition. I feel like I sort of naturally transitioned into, what I feel like is the ultimate and purest form of competition, which is fighting. And I've never looked back since.
Wow. So as a youngster, what sports did you play, buddy?
Played some footy, played some cricket, hockey, swimming, basketball. You name it, I probably gave it a go.
Is there any sport that you were particularly great at?
Basketball was probably my main love. I played in the state league. Managed to represent and get up pretty high in it. Played some games in America. And yeah, that was my main love. Also, cricket and footy, I was pretty good at. Won some awards there as well, and some premierships. So I feel like I've always loved winning.
You said you played some basketball games in America.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, played some
Tell us a bit
tournaments
more
over
about that.
there. Yeah, just some like tournaments over there. Flying over there. I flew over there with school one time. Played some school games against some high schools over there. And visited a few tournaments and stuff.
And this boxing journey, how did that start?
I was sort of unhappy with where I was. I had a bit of a lack of motivation after school. I finished school, I was about 17, and I was sort of sitting around, waiting for the next thing to sort of present itself. I had a few things happen in my life. One of my friends who I played basketball with, he passed away. And so I sort of moved away from my love of basketball and sort of was looking for something else. And I would always love fighting. I always, enjoyed whether it was like play fighting, boxing out of the backyard with my mates, and that sort of transitioned into full-time training. And as soon as I jumped in, I knew that was what I wanted to do, and I was fighting, and I won an amateur state title within 8 months.
How old were you when you actually started training?
17.
17 years old?
Yeah.
And then within 8 months of that, you won an amateur state title in Perth?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Take us through the first 8 months. Walking into the ring for the first time, fighting for the first time in front of people, in front of a crowd, official fight. Take us through that.
Well, I mean, it's actually quite a funny story because I was fighting the fight after my a good training partner of mine. I forgot my groin guard, so we had to share the same groin guard.
Yeah.
And he just actually got knocked out, and I really looked up to him at that stage.
Wow.
And so that was pretty shocking, but I managed to sort of clear my mind. It was complete, like it was nothing that I could have expected. Amateur is such a fast pace, but I sort of adapted straight away, and I ended up getting the win. And I fought 3 more times over the next 2 weeks, and I won all of them as well. Then ended up winning the state title tournament.
Wow, there you go. What happened after the actual title win? I mean, did you stick around in the amateurs, or did you move on, or did you feel like it was time to up the ante a bit?
My love was always in pro boxing. I always admired pro boxers. I never really wanted to stick around in amateurs too long. I ended up winning another state title, and I reached 9-0 in the amateurs, and then I sort of wanted to take my talents to the professional ranks. That sort of amateur stint was also sort of broken up with COVID and stuff. COVID, I actually had a blood clot, which meant I couldn't fight for about 4 or 5 months because I was on blood thinners, which wasn't great. So there was COVID, and then there was the blood clot.
Yeah.
And then exactly, or a bleed in the brain. Yeah, just couldn't risk it. So it was broken up, and then I sort of jumped over into the pro ranks.
You won 2 state titles in 9 fights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be a record somewhere.
Who knows, mate? Who knows?
It has to be a record somewhere.
Mm.
That's a pretty cool achievement. Um, Amateur career is done. It's
Mm.
time to step up in front of the bright lights, in front of the hundreds and thousands of people in
Mm.
crowds. Fight night comes. You do the weigh-in. You after the weigh-in, you rehydrate. Next up, day after, it's fight night. Take us through that experience. Your first ever pro fight in front of a big crowd, so on and so on.
So my first pro fight was in Muay Thai. I had a few Muay Thai fights as well, concurrently with my amateur fights.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to a point where I sort of decided that boxing was the sport for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a bigger future. I just have more of a love for the game.
Why do you have him in Muay Thai if your amateur experience was in boxing?
Was that so, mate?
Why did you move to Muay Thai in the pro ranks if your experience was in boxing?
I was actually fighting concurrently. Like, so some weeks I'd fight amateur, some weeks I'd fight Muay Thai.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
See?
there was 1 week where I fought 71 kilograms in Muay Thai, and then the week after I fought 80 kilograms in amateur boxing, and I ended up winning
See
both
now we're unpacking more. There you go.
fights.
See?
Yeah,
There's more to the story. Yeah.
yeah,
Keep going.
yeah, yeah.
And
So,
how do you believe that helped you actually? Because,
um, I feel like both sports are so mental that like it sort of does carry over. It's so psychological, and I feel like I sort of picked up a lot from both.
mm-hmm.
But it did reach a point where I feel like Muay Thai training was taking away from my boxing training and my boxing ability. So I sort of, moved over to full-time boxing.
Wow. And once you made that transition, how do you feel it impacted your boxing?
It really took my boxing to the next level. It allowed me to solely focus on one discipline, and it ended up making me move to big rigs, which is like it's where my management is stationed. It's where my whole team is, and it really has streamlined my career.
How do you feel the team around you's impacted your career?
Oh well, even though boxing is a solo game, I feel like without the team, I'd still be on one. Or if I ever had a fight, I don't know, like I'd be nowhere without my team. And that includes my coach, my management, the sparring partners, everyone who trains at big rigs, my girlfriend, and my family.
So it's really a team sport outside the ring. It's only individual inside, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when you're inside the ring, they're still screaming their hearts out as well. It is such a taxing sport and a taxing game, that you need the correct support systems around you. Otherwise, you're going to fall away.
Wow. Made your boxing pro debut. Take us through the night. Take us through people watching, what it meant to you, and it's a massive milestone. I mean, with such a small amateur career,
Yeah.
it's a huge milestone.
Yeah. Well, there were doubts, and like I did have thoughts of the people that did say that it was too quick. I was, maybe came out prematurely, or I should have gained more experience in the amateurs. I did sort of have that in the back of my mind, but I sort of managed to push that aside, and it ended up being a short night at the office. So it ended up only being like 46 seconds. So yeah, I feel like at that point I sort of knew that I was comfortable. I think I took maybe one shot, and it didn't faze me, because that was also sort of on my mind as well. It's different taking shots in amateur gloves with headgear than taking shots with smaller gloves and no headgear. But once I sort of mentally set myself in it, I knew that I'd be fine.
Don't get paid overtime, eh? Just got to get in and get out.
Just get in, get out. Yeah.
All right, we got the first one under wraps. Then take us through the rest of the journey, mate.
So my second fight was against a brawler named Habib, who's a real tough fighter. He's also fighting on this card as well. A great guy, a solid competitor. I did feel very comfortable. I dropped him in the first minute or so with a body shot, but he managed to sort of wheel his way to the end of the fight. then from then on, I sort of moved from one step to another. Ended up winning 3 state titles in 3 different weight divisions.
Very nice.
So I believe I'm the first one in WA to do that, Tony. I think I'm the first anyway.
Yeah.
And now moving on to my first international opponent.
Fantastic. So you've got a couple of records there, mate. I mean, I'm sure you've got one in the amateurs too. So if you look deeply enough, is there anyone in your family who's boxed before?
Nah. All of my family are like, got normal jobs. It's something that's very, very different. I'm the first one in my family that's
Very
got
foreign,
tattoos
huh?
as well.
Yeah. Very foreign.
But they are very, very supportive.
Who do you look up to? Which fighter really do you like to base yourself off? You look at what they do, how they do, so on, so on.
There's so many. I feel like you have to take different elements of different people.
Give us 3.
I would say Terence Crawford, Joe Calzaghe, and
That's a name I haven't heard before on this podcast.
Muhammad Ali. Yeah, well,
Wow.
he's undefeated as well, undefeated world champion.
Joe's quite the fighter. Not too popular outside the boxing world, but he's quite the fighter. Or was.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Who's been that rock for you, that mentor that you've always turned around to and said, "Hey man, I need help, I need wisdom, I need guidance, I need this, put me on the straight path."
Honestly, there's been so many, like so many. Obviously my coach Big Rig, we call him Pops. He's like a father to us. My manager Tony, my girlfriend, that my parents as well. There's like just so many people. I feel like you do need that. It really takes a village to sort of push
raise a boy.
Forward. Yeah, 100%.
Takes a village to raise a boy.
100%.
Yeah. Absolutely. You have a big fight coming up, August the 23rd on Dragonfire Boxing.
Yeah.
Take us through that.
It's my first international opponent. I was very lucky to get this opportunity. I'm blessed with a great management team who sort of know how to push fighters forward and have a plan set out for each fighter. And this is just the next step in my plan. I sort of am able to leave that to them, and I can just sort of solely focus on completing my job, which makes things so much easier.
What's the end goal here, Jude? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years as a fighter?
I want to win world titles in multiple weight divisions. That's my goal.
World titles in multiple weight divisions. Wow, powerful. You've trained in many sports. How do you see boxing different? Like, is it harder? Is it just different? Is it more taxing? How do you compare?
I feel like each sport is so different. Different sports bring different challenges, but boxing is definitely the sport that definitely sticks out to me as the most challenging, because like an off night, your career can unravel. But I feel like, with the right team around you, it does make the sport a lot easier. But yeah, like, I love it for the fact that it's a solo sport, it's a man-on-man sport, but it definitely has its challenges, and it's definitely very, very tough, like not being able to party, not being able to see your friends, not being able to, eat what you want to eat. Even now, like I've been eating the same meal for the last like 3-4 weeks, cutting weight, and it is taxing, I can't even look forward to eating,
Yeah. It's very tough, and the common person doesn't know that. How do you manage dropping weight? Do you find it tough, or does it come off easily for you?
It does come off easy. I've never had any real issues with making weight. Whatever weight Tony sort of sets out in front of me, I'm able to sort of chase it down. Obviously, mentally, it takes a lot of discipline, but it's not that hard.
Common people don't really understand what goes into dropping weight and some of the sacrifices. Like you just said, you had the same meal for 4 weeks. I mean, how many people do that? It's not
Lunch,
it's not
dinner,
very common.
breakfast, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Jude. I am really appreciative of your time, and thank you very much for joining us on the show. You've been very, very generous with your time. Before we let you go, any parting words?
tune into the journey. You can follow myself at Jude Grant on Instagram and Facebook as well. Just hop on board. Let's see where this goes.
August 23rd. Where can people watch the fight?
You can get tickets. Tickets are still available through. You can either message myself, message Tony. There's also a link available in my Instagram bio as well. There will be tickets on the door, and it's also available on the Triller app as well if you want to watch it.
On the which app? Sorry,
Triller
app. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Fight TV, yeah.
Fight TV. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jude Grant, thank you so much for joining us on Raw Sport. Take care. We'll catch you all, and all the best in your upcoming bout.